If you're investing in ETFs, you probably own an S&P 500 index fund like the VOO, IVV, or SPY. You bought this ETF to be instantly diversified, and you're not wrong, but you're not nearly as diversified as you think you are, and it's quietly exposing you to more risk and costing you more money. In this video, I break down the 3 biggest ETF mistakes that are costing you money, overcomplicate your portfolio, and make it more vulnerable to market risk than you might realize. I'll also give you the 3 easy steps to fix these mistakes and make your portfolio stronger, cheaper, and better diversified. All right, let's get into it. One of the biggest risks of ETF investing is fake diversification. Take the S&P 500. Warren Buffett famously says that everyone should own an S&P 500 ETF.
I think it's the same thing that makes most sense practically all of the time. And that is to consistently buy an S&P 500 low-cost index fund, keep buying it through thick and thin, and especially through thin.
And he's right. I mean, who wouldn't want to own a piece of America's 500 best and brightest companies? I invest in an S&P 500 ETF myself. But if an S&P 500 ETF makes up the bulk of your portfolio, you're actually far less diversified than you might think. This has everything to do with the enormous value of the top companies in the US stock market, the so-called Magnificent Seven. All 7 of these companies are global juggernauts that dominate their sectors, but the AI revolution has really sent their valuation into the stratosphere. So much so that they currently make up about 1/3 of the value of the entire S&P 500. In other words, if your portfolio consists entirely of a market cap weighted S&P 500 ETF, just 7 companies make up 1/3 of your portfolio. Plus, all 7 of these companies are heavily involved in the AI revolution, which opens them up to the same single risk factor. Now, as long as the demand for AI and the profits coming from AI-related services increase, these companies are well positioned to reap much of the rewards. But if for whatever reason the AI bubble, if it is indeed a bubble, bursts, these 7 companies will also be among the hardest hit. One way to decrease your dependence on a Magnificent Seven is to decrease your investments in a market cap weighted S&P 500 and instead go with an equal weight S&P 500 ETF, which assigns a fixed weight of about 0.2% to every stock in the S&P 500. Equal weight S&P 500 ETFs actually outperformed market weighted ones during the first months of 2026, but over the past 5 years they did not. And of course, if it turns out that the AI bubble is simply an AI boom, you will benefit far less if your stake in Nvidia is the same as your stake in company 500 on the S&P 500 list. Another way to decrease your dependence on the Mag 7 is by increasing your investment in the non-US stock market, a strategy sometimes called Sell America. One simple way to do it is to reduce your holdings in your S&P 500 ETF and increase your holdings in an ETF like Vanguard's VXUS, which holds stock in close to 9,000 companies, mostly in developed markets in Europe and the Pacific, but not the US. I actually rebalanced my own broad market ETF portfolio recently to a 50-50 split between the VOO and the VXUS. That doesn't mean you have to do it, it's just to give you an example of a simple way to reduce your dependence on the US tech sector and increase your true diversification. Another way fake diversification creeps into many portfolios is through overlap. If, for instance, you own both an S&P 500 ETF and a total US stock market ETF, you basically own the S&P 500 twice. The same goes for total world stock ETFs, which are dominated by the US stock market, which in turn is dominated by the S&P 500, which in turn is dominated by, well, you get the idea, those same top 7 companies. This is a major hidden problem for many long-term investment portfolios, but there is an easy fix for it that I'll show you later on. A third kind of fake diversification that a lot of ETF portfolios suffer from is sector mimicry, which is owning investments in similar sectors. Say you invest in State Street's Tech Select Sector Spider and Vanguard's Growth ETF. Different ETFs focus on different factors and issued by different ETF management companies. Pretty solid idea, right? Except that the top holdings of both ETFs include Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia. In fact, the overlap between the 2 funds is nearly 50%. Not to mention that growth and tech stocks are vulnerable to the same economic developments. If interest rates rise, for example, both growth and tech stocks suffer because their future profits, which investors are banking on, will be worth less today. So if you want to add a sector ETF to your portfolio, always consider how much overlap it has with your existing portfolio. The reason fake diversification is so widespread is because it feels safe. But it's not safe at all because it actually increases your risk exposure and also stealthily leaks money from your portfolio because you're often paying higher expense ratios, the annual cost of an ETF. And if the market takes a hit, you take a much bigger hit than necessary. Over 20 or 30 years or so, those extra fees and the lack of real protection can represent a difference of tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, by now your head's probably spinning a little. Overlap, single factor risk, sector mimicry, where does it end? But don't worry, like I said, there is a very simple solution to fix fake diversification that I'll address in a moment. For now though, I just want you to be aware of it. You can't fix something if you don't know what's wrong, so bear with me just a little longer. The second costly ETF mistake many investors, especially beginning investors, make is to overcomplicate their portfolio. I call this the complexity trap. There are just so many ETFs to choose from. Mid-cap ETFs, small-cap and large-cap ETFs, emerging market ETFs, dividend ETFs, bond ETFs. You want a piece of everything. You want to be invested in every market, optimize your portfolio to the max so you don't miss out on anything and control for every possible market risk, from a weakening dollar to rising interest rates and a blowout recession. So you buy a dozen different ETFs. Your portfolio looks really sophisticated, which makes you feel sophisticated. You've optimized your portfolio for every possible scenario. The market's not going to pull one over you. In reality, though, these do-it-yourself portfolios are often just more expensive, less efficient versions of a simple total market fund. This is because expense ratios for smaller, more specialized ETFs are often higher, sometimes a lot higher, than those of broad market funds, and defensive ETFs often weaken or even work against the rest of your portfolio. And even if you can avoid overlap, you will be diversified so much it dilutes your returns, something legendary investor Peter Lynch calls diversification. It's also known as a Frankenstein portfolio because it's stitched together from all these different random parts. And complicated ETF portfolios often do show a lot of overlap, if not directly with the same assets, then indirectly in that they are betting on or are vulnerable to the same market developments. Take real estate and tech. You might buy a REIT, a kind of real estate ETF, to diversify away from a tech-heavy portfolio, thinking brick-and-mortar stores and tech platforms have nothing to do with each other. But they actually have a massive indirect overlap. Interest rates. When interest rates rise, tech valuations drop because future profits are worth less today. At the same time, REITs get hammered because their borrowing costs skyrocket. In other words, you think you're hedged, but you're actually holding a hidden double whammy bet on the Federal Reserve. Now that's fine if that's exactly what you want, but many investors are not fully aware of that increased risk exposure. A portfolio of many different ETFs also invites you to keep tinkering with it, to keep adjusting, keep optimizing, which is the third ETF mistake that can cost you way more than you might think: overtrading. Because ETFs are so easy to trade, many investors buy and sell them like individual stocks, but you shouldn't treat ETFs as trading tools, but as investing tools. There's a clear difference. Trading is about capturing short-term price movements. Investing is about capturing long-term growth. It's not about timing the market, but about time in the market. The longer your time in the market, the greater your gain. But the more ETFs you have, the more you will be tempted to make changes to your portfolio. And once you start doing that, you won't stop. You'll find yourself constantly checking the prices of your ETFs, questioning yourself, adjusting and readjusting. And by doing that, you rob yourself of precisely that one crucial thing all long-term investments need: time in the market. If you're investing for the long term, it's much better to allocate the bulk of your portfolio in a few broad market ETFs and let time do the heavy lifting. All right, so how do you fix these three costly ETF investing mistakes? Fake diversification, the complexity trap, and overtrading. 3 easy steps. Step 1, always check for overlap first. This is easy to do. Use a free ETF comparison tool like the one offered by ETFRC or YSheets. I'll leave links in the description below. Just plug in your ETFs and see how much overlap there really is between them. It'll take you 5 minutes and show you exactly where you have overlap down to the sector and individual stocks. Do this with your existing portfolio, but also before buying a new ETF. This way you can root out existing fake diversification and also prevent new fake diversification. Step 2, choose your core. You don't need 10 different ETFs if you're investing for the long term. Just pick 2, maybe 3 different ETFs that complement each other. That's it. A simple example of a 3-fund portfolio is a 60-20-20 split between a total US stock ETF, an international ETF that excludes the US, and a total bond ETF. Or, if you want to go stocks only, you could also divide your portfolio in a 60-40 or 50-50 split between an S&P 500 fund and an international fund like the VXUS. This core should represent at least 80% of your total stock portfolio. If you want to invest in specialized ETFs to bet on emerging trends or technologies, that's fine, but treat that as a side bet. Your main bet should always be on the market as a whole. The key is to achieve broad market coverage with minimal overlap. You're not trying to outsmart the market here, you're trying to follow it. By keeping it simple, you also won't be tempted to constantly adjust your portfolio or keep an eye on how all your ETFs are doing. You are simply invested in the entire market. The third and last step is to automate your investing. This will prevent overtrading and ensure you keep adding to your investment portfolio. If you have to manually transfer money from your bank account to your investment account every month, you might forget sometimes, or you might decide you need the money for something else this month. Or maybe you read somewhere there's a recession coming on and now you're anxious to invest at all. The more decisions you have to make, the more liable you are to make a mistake. So just put your investing on autopilot. Set it up so that the money automatically goes from your bank account to your investment account every month, and from there automatically into your chosen ETFs every month, without you having to lift a finger. You don't need to make any investing decisions anymore. You already made those decisions in step 2 when you selected your core investments. So lean back and let automation do the work. Then once a year, you check your allocation. If the balance between the different ETFs in your portfolio is off by more than 5%, or if you believe there's a fundamental shift in the economy, Rebalance. Treat your portfolio like a house. You don't sell your house every time the market dips, you live in it. 3 simple steps. Check for overlap, choose your core, and automate your investing. Do this and you'll avoid the mistakes and headaches that cost many ETF investors tens of thousands of dollars over their lifetime, often without them knowing it. Look, we've all seen movies and heard stories about legendary investors who made a killing by outsmarting the market. But for every legendary investor who outsmarted the market, there are thousands who lost money trying. Because outsmarting the market is just very hard to do. Study after study has shown that the laziest long-term investors often get the highest returns. Because this is one area where you really don't want to be overly active and ambitious, unless you aspire to be a full-time investor. If you just want to build long-term wealth without any hassle, there's a super simple portfolio I call the Ultimate Lazy Investor Portfolio that will do just that. Check it out here. And if you liked this video, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and make sure you don't miss the next video. Keep building long-term wealth smarter and faster, and I'll catch you at the next one.